Yo, 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 what is going on, everybody? Gabriel Santos here. And in today's video, I want to talk about some of the insights I've had lately about addiction, dependence, toxic behaviors, and that can include weed, alcohol, video games, procrastination, um, and talk about the trauma, the emotional trauma underneath that type of behavior. Okay, because for a little context, I think a lot of us look at and kind of the popular common perspective on addiction and dependence and things like that is that you lack discipline, right? And that you need discipline in order to get control of your behavior. And although that's definitely a part of it, right? Addiction is a very low form of consciousness. And what I mean by that is when someone finds themselves in addiction, I can attest to this firsthand. You're no longer making your choices from conscious thinking, right? There are deep emotional, biological, mental, spiritual forces at play. And oftentimes, in my experience, and I'm not an expert, okay, this is just from my experience, um, these emotional and deep forces are intertwined with our traumas and our pain body. And what I mean by pain body is, for example, let's say you're 6 years old and you really wanted to play with this kid, right, at the playground, and you don't know any better, right? You don't know the social rules, you're just a kid, like wanting what you want. And so you go up to the kid and you say, "Hey, you want to play?" And very innocently, right? And what the kid does is looks at you like this, right? Grabs some sand off the ground and throws it in your face, right? And so as a kid, um, you would develop some type of quote unquote traumatic experience, right? Where and as a young kid, you don't consciously tell yourself this, but what might happen, right, to a kid going through that is they create this belief called, oh, um, when I ask people, when I want to play with someone, they might hurt me, right? And they create these associations in their mind and in their heart, right? Like, oh, it's not safe to go after what I want, right? The world is dangerous. People are mean. No one wants to be my friend, right? I'm not lovable. I'm not acceptable. And then that all kind of starts cascading in different directions. And then as you get older, your brain starts to create stories and reasons to justify why things are happening, right? And it's like, let's say you were 13, right? And you go to school, you're wearing the clothes you normally wear, but all of a sudden people are laughing at you and they're judging you and they're rejecting you, right? And so then maybe you create a story called, wearing these kind of clothes isn't cool, which kind of translates to I'm not cool, which translates to I need to be something else. I need to be something else to get people to like me, to see me, to care about me, right? And so my point is that the pain body, right? The term called the pain body is the emotions that get trapped in our physiology, right, as a product of all these different experiences we have over time. And it gets to a point where, for example, right, you ask someone to be your friend, they reject you, and the muscles around your heart start to tense up, right? That's why people say they build walls, right? They build walls because they don't trust people, right? And so quite literally, the muscular system in your body creates these hardens up, right? And so you walk around hardened up, and your body and your brain create defenses to protect you from not feeling this immense sense of pain, right? So then you create a defense mechanism called I'm gonna be snarky, not nice, right? I'm gonna be standoffish, not accepting, right? And unconsciously you're creating all these different modes and ways to navigate the world and rules and beliefs, and oftentimes they're very disempowering, right? And my point is all this stuff is happening underneath the surface, unconscious, right? driving how you behave, driving how you see the world, driving your actions, our actions, right? Um, and so going back to the topic of addiction, right? In my experience, okay, let's get more on the court, right? With my own personal experience. So just like you all, I thought it was about a lack of discipline, right? Um, and that's certainly part of it, right? But what some of the things I learned was like, oh man, like part of why it was so why I've been so attached to marijuana and I can't let it go and I can't seem to just do what's best for me, including discipline, right? Is this underlying fear, and we're getting to my traumas now, the underlying fear of not being cool, right? Because in high school I wasn't cool, right? I felt cool and seen and loved and appreciated and respected up until 8th grade, right? I transitioned to a new school, right, in high school, and I didn't feel seen, I didn't feel heard, I didn't feel respected, I didn't feel valued, right? And I was still the same person I was before, right? But all of a sudden, the things that made me cool before were not cool anymore, right? Getting good grades wasn't cool, right? Smoking cigarettes was cool, partying was cool, right? Having sex was cool, slacking off was cool, right? If you did well, you know what that got you? You're a nerd, right? Oh, right. And so I so desperately wanted to be cool. But what that really meant was I wanted to be loved and appreciated and accepted, right? And so because I didn't get that in high school, it's funny because the reason I first smoked weed in the first place wasn't because I wanted to smoke the weed, right? It's because I wanted to be cool and be a part of the group and be seen and be heard. And guess what happened? When I smoked weed that first day, right? Prom night, senior year of high school, I was seen. I felt cool. I felt appreciated. Now I'm going to take a step back and say I had other stories and limiting beliefs in high school that didn't allow me to feel like I was good enough because I most certainly didn't need to smoke weed and party and have a bunch of sex to be cool and be respected and to have my own self-respect, right? These are tools that we're not really taught. And so here we are now learning them as we get older on our own, right? And so, what I didn't know was that underneath the surface, this fear and pain of not wanting to feel that pain of not being seen, feel that pain of not being able to be a part of the group, feel that pain of being laughed at for not, joining, right? Not joining in with certain activities or certain lifestyle choices. And so I didn't want to let go of the weed because letting go of the weed represented letting go of my access to all these things I so desperately wanted but didn't know how to get without having the weed, right? And so I started to create this identity of, oh, weed is what makes me cool. Weed, and then not only that, put aside the high school stuff, and then all these new things started happening. It was like, because for example, when I first started smoking weed, that was like, my first time that my anxiety was reduced, right? And when anxiety is reduced, you feel relaxed, you feel at ease, you feel more happy. And it's like, oh my God, I didn't know how to be happy and reduce my anxiety without having weed by my side. And so one of the big breakthroughs for me is that when I didn't smoke for a year, I had to develop the tools and the strategies and develop my coping mechanisms, healthy coping mechanisms to deal with my own anxiety, right? And that in itself is a journey on its own, right? Because I had to take a look at what's causing those anxieties, and it's all connected. It's all connected, right? Just to list off some anxieties like my size, right? I had stories about my height and my size, right? And then I had not to get too into it, but just a host of other things, right? That caused me to not feel good enough, right? I'm sure you can relate. I know you can relate. And so getting back to addiction and weed and these traumas, I guess what I'm saying here is to consider that it's not just about discipline. It's not surely about you lack discipline, that there are deeper things at play for you, right? Because for example, right, it's like Um, for example, right? Like if you let go of weed, right? And I'm not saying even like quitting per se. I'm like if you, like let me get back to my personal experience. And what's funny is, I'm kind of all over the place, but what's funny is as I've resolved these false beliefs and these false realities, right? Oh, I'm not good enough without weed. I'm not going to be cool, right? It's going to hurt if I can't smoke weed with others, which really means it's going to hurt being rejected, or I don't want to not be part of the group, or I don't want to feel the pain of being judged, right? Or being misunderstood. That's what that really means. Um, as I've resolved that more and more for myself, the the confusion and the conflict and the inability to have not only an appropriate relationship with weed, but like an appropriate relationship with myself, an appropriate relationship with my life, right? Um, to the point where it's like, and I'm not here to say I've mastered everything or that I'm perfect, but what I am saying is, what was really underneath this attachment to weed were actually these attachments to, you know, not wanting to feel pain, not wanting to face old pain, right? So I encourage you to take a look at yourself and your history and your traumas, and to see if and how they relate to, your relationship to marijuana, specifically if it's an unhealthy relationship. And obviously this is not just about weed. Put it towards wine, put it towards food, put it towards alcohol, video games, TV, right? Working, um, which in this case are all just forms of escape, right? Escape from these deep underlying traumatic pains that we don't that are still left unprocessed, unhealed. We simply don't want to face again. It's really no different than, you know um why we don't want to go and be vulnerable, because we don't want to experience the deep sense of rejection and abandonment we did when we were 12, right? But I can assure you, as you resolve those things for yourself and you develop alternative ways to handle rejection, right? um you you'll be shocked, and I know some of you already know what I'm saying. You'll be shocked at how different your world is, and how different your ability to manage and handle your life with more sense of ease and empowerment, right? Where it doesn't have to be a tug of war, right? Because if you have these unconscious conflicts, right? These unconscious beliefs conflicting, where one says, you know what, I really want to be my best, I want to show up powerfully, and I want to have a sense of, you know, care and responsibility for my life, right? Which includes like staying away from pot in certain moments because that's just not the right move. As well as, oh, now it's okay to utilize pot because that's the right move for me, right? You have that side, which is healthy, right? Healthy. And then you also have this other side, this unconscious side, deep, right? Filled with the trauma and the pain, said, oh, but if we like, no, like weed is a key factor in how we make sure our life stays together, right? How we don't fall apart, right? And I don't, and so you have boom, 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 right? And so sometimes and then it gets confusing. It gets confusing because then, when do you know when it's time to smoke the weed in a healthy way and when you're doing it in a traumatic way, right? And I want to assure you, both of us, that you're wise enough to figure this out, right? And you might have to learn from others, but you're wise enough. And I can assure you that as you release the deeper emotional barriers and traumas, within you, that you'll be dumbfounded at how easy it is to figure out what you want to do with your life and then to do it. Seriously. And my tone comes from a place of like, I'm dumbfounded. I'm dumbfounded, right? right? Because this whole time, it's really not about controlling weed use. That's secondary. That's really secondary, right? What really matters is like, I want to be healthy. I want to be happy. I want to be fulfilled. I want to live with a sense of purpose. I want to be available to people in my life. I want to limit toxic behavior, right? I want to limit debilitating behavior. I want to do things that help me be more and more and more so I can give more and be more and have more. And I want to limit the things that take me away from my ability to be like that, right? And so naturally, your wisdom shows up, your responsibility shows up, right? And you learn through experience, right? And so it's like, oh, I know that when I make my to-do list the night before, that allows me to be more of who I like to be. Oh, I know that if I smoke weed 24/7 the day before, that will probably take me out of the game for a day or two because I just am so zonked. And that's just me personally, right? Right? Whereas, and again, that's what my book is about, right? It's seeing how you can use weed to support you to be your best self, right? In addition to all the ways that you can be your best self, because that's really kind of what we're after, right? Being our best selves. And I say that with honest intention, not just bending your or like just wish wash, right? Um, and anyways, I know this video is getting long, so I appreciate everyone here. Hopefully this video was of help and support. Um, and so for those of you still at the end of this video, and I'll share this in a separate video as well, but where I'm at now in terms of weed, like as much as I would love to do it a lot, what really matters to me more is to continue to show up very, very powerfully in my life. And what seems to work well right now is just to put marijuana to the side. Um, I'm not against it. It's just like, it's just what's kind of best for me right now. It's just what's working. Um, and that's just me, and so take a look at what will be best for you. I know for many of you, just doing it after work, right? That works, right? For some people, wake and bacon works. For some, it doesn't work. For some, on the weekends only works. For some, it doesn't work, right? So just begin to take a look first. What matters to you? What matters to you about your life? Okay. Oh, right. You check in. Oh, what matters to me is a sense of responsibility. I like staying on top of my health. I like having a sense of structure. I like having a sense of flow. Okay, good. What are the habits that allow you to have that kind of life? Oh, this habit, this habit, this habit. Okay. What habits take away from your ability to have that life? This. Okay. Right. And you learn along the way, right? Trial and error, trial and error, trial and error, trial and error, right? And then you just slowly tinker, and that's so great, man. Like there is no end in sight, right? There is there is no ceiling to how much we can grow. It's just like Tony Robbins says, constant and never ending improvement. And so I know many of you on this channel are here because you want to get past whatever this thing going on with you yourself addiction is, right? Because and I want to acknowledge the the roller coaster that is, right? And so again, hopefully this video found you well. Leave down in the comments below maybe something that maybe some type of breakthrough, or maybe a quote or an insight that you got from this video that is standing out to you. But yeah, all right, so that's it. Appreciate you all, love you all. My general vision, at least for this week, is 3 videos this week. 1 weed related, which is this video, and then 2 non-weed related. But overall, that all these videos are meant to bring you value and to support you in your journey wherever you're at. Right? And so with that, I love you all. I appreciate you all. And remember, where you're at is where you're meant to be. All right. I'll see y'all in the next video. Have a good one. Peace.